Mutahar of Some Ordinary Gamers has really been struggling with how to handle his relationship with Nux Taku. A while back, when the whole Ava Tyson Mr. Beast situation popped off, it was brought to people's attention that Nux Taku had something of a relationship with Shadman. He had asked him to collaborate publicly. He was turned down, but he asked him to collaborate. There were multiple DMs between the two, and Nux Taku had used some of Shadman's art in videos and thumbnails. Obviously, people were not much of a fan of that because Shadman has been disowned by pretty much every single person on the internet who's not an open freak. Mutahar he's just not sure how to handle this relationship that he has with Nux Taku, how much he should or shouldn't distance him. And this is how he addressed it 4 months ago.
So first thing I want to address is obviously Nux. Nux, you've had a internet relationship with a internet bad guy known as Shadman that I guess we've all
Internet bad guy. He drew explicit art of people like Keemstar's child daughter. Bad guy is accurate, but it's a bit of a euphemism.
jumped into the vortex of. I just want to stress this podcast was never really ending because of that. It's a bit of a restructure. I did end up going.
And this is just a total contradiction of what he said on Chud Logic's stream. He told Chud Logic that the podcast, as is, was ending in part because Muda and Caleb Umpavel were weirded out by the stuff that was revealed about Nux Taku.
Out filming with Caleb actually in Stephenville, Texas, and there was a lot of I guess content plans that kind of came out of it. I really do like the IRL stream or IRL podcast kind of format, so it's a bit more restructuring there. It has nothing to do with obviously our relation to Nux. Nux is a PNG character that has always been
nothing to do with it here.
A PNG popular character on the internet. Controversial, but not controversial enough for us to cut our friendships with him. At least in my opinion.
Controversial, but not controversial enough. Mutahar is willing to keep him around. And you see, this was titled The Final Episode of the podcast. And this was 4 months ago. I don't know how long it takes to build a set, put a couch and some chairs in front of a camera. Apparently that takes at least half a year. But it was recently revealed to Mutahar's subreddit, Some Ordinary Gamers, that Mutahar was aware of what a freak weirdo Nux Taku was before the podcast. There is video of Mutahar and Caleb and Nux Taku on a call reviewing sick, disgusting porn. Really, that's what it is. And Mutahar would have you believe that he wasn't really aware of all this stuff until it was the controversy with Ava Tyson Mr. Beast. But this video is posted in his subreddit, and most of his fans obviously did not really know about any of these details. This is a very good video by Nikandros. I've done a video on it, and I'll link this one in the description too. But it's just showing that, yeah, Mutahar knew. He knew it. So I want to read some of Mutahar's customers' comments, and Mutahar did reply on here as well, but I want to read the customers' comments first before we see what Mutahar actually said. Fractal Chaos Theory says, God, just reading through a few comments on that post, that subreddit is filled with the saddest effers on internet. Not defending Nux, but they really try to present Mutahar making some jokes as him being a PDF. This post just screams, we don't like Muda and Oompa, and now we have half a reason to justify why we don't like them. I'm not saying that people on YouTube drama, that's where it was initially posted. I'm not saying they're brilliant or have good points or criticism or whatever, but let's talk about the video, man. Let's talk about the video, the content of the video. Okay, as far as we can tell, they aren't PDFs. They watched some shock content on a Discord call, and it was recorded. I don't know the others, but I know Muta has seen a lot and recorded a lot worse and made a lot worse jokes. This isn't a smoking gun. Get some real evidence. So, Sturmp, he says, oh, this is nothing compared to what Muta's done. You haven't seen the half of it. Ziltoid says, I don't like Oompa, but this whole thing is just silly. Tons of context missing. So the people, they're like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is nonsense. But Mutahar says, can't speak for Caleb, but from what I remember regarding stuff like this is stuff from Nux showing us hentai for his competitions, and usually in this there are multiple creators. No defense here, I'm not knowledgeable on anything anime, and I blindly assumed someone we collaborated at the time showed us hentai and nothing illegal. Since this appears to now come from something more sinister, I apologize for what I said in this, and I'm livid at Nux, who is quite against this kind of material in both public and private conversations with us. So Mutahar is saying, this stuff is not okay. They're talking about Canadian law specifically, but it might be illegal that we saw this, and I'm outraged that Nux showed this to us. And he has this fan saying, oh, this is nothing. Mutahar's done way worse. It's like, guys, Mutahar is willing to accept some level of criticism here. And you guys, like, it's so dumb as a fan to go out this hard and defend somebody like that. Some YouTuber, especially when you don't even clearly know their opinion on this. You don't understand what their opinion is. Mutahar is willing to say, yeah, no, this stuff that Nux showed us is not cool, not okay. I should not have done this. I'm mad that I did. Whatever he showed us at the time, I had believed would just fall under a legal hentai banner in Canada and the US, and assumed poorly that all of it would just be illegal, and after filming, just go on with my day. Arvid says, thanks for the explanation. Complete context does matter, and that's not what the video clip showed. There's never enough context with these people. Never, never, never. Unfortunately, the sub can't seem to forgive him, still yapping about morals and bad vibes from Muta. Some are even desperately trying to find excuses to have him booked and enlisted as an RSO. I didn't see any of that. It's like, just still unwilling to say that there should be any criticism of Muta when you're replying to him conceding somewhat. Will you be continuing your friendship with Nux? Just curious, considering this is arguably worse than the picture Ava Tyson put up on the wall at Mr. Beast's house. It does also cast some doubt on Nux's story about his communication with Shad. No, if he's showing things under a false pretense, then I have no reason to continue the relationship. Wartime Mercy says, you refer to it as lolly in the video. How is that false pretenses when you're actively commenting on the subject matter? I think he does kind of mention that here. They thought it was like some legal type of lolly or whatever. I don't know. I still think there's no reason to be watching that sort of garbage. It's only weirdos want to watch that sort of stuff, even if it is for a joke to own the haters. Just surely you got something better. Oh, and it's just that is Muta here. That commented that, and this was on the YouTube drama. They were obviously more willing to criticize Muta. It's not too worth going into those comments, but this video is by Nikandros. This is an update to that video that they were sharing in the subreddit, and not going to watch the whole thing because the guy put some time and effort into this. If it's a low effort video like mine, I don't mind reacting to the whole thing, but watch a bit of this and recommend that you watch the whole thing because, yeah, it gives you more detail on the Chud Logic, Mutahar, Nux Taku, Some Ordinary Podcast story.
Welcome, I am Nikandros, and this video is a summary of the drama that occurred between the streamer Chud Logic and Some Ordinary Gamers, more commonly known as Mutahar. But an inseparable part of that chain of events is the completely unethical, reckless content that Nux Taku, a co-host of Mutahar's podcast, was uploading onto the YouTube platform without any objection from Mutahar for many years. You may have seen the video created by Harmful Opinions on Nux Taku, which I aided in the research of. Since then, I've made more discoveries about Nux Taku's unethical behavior, which will be revealed in this video. Making this video might be a little bit dangerous, because Nux has used his connection to Mutahar and his podcast to threaten creators that have criticized him in the past.
If I make a video roasting this dude on my main channel, YouTube will literally deplatform him.
I think Nick Andros says something about it after this too. Not trying to defend Rev Says Desu specifically here at all. That guy's also a freak, weirdo loser. But it's just what Nux Taku is saying here, with the things that he's admitting that he's willing to do.
Like, YouTube actually watches my stuff, especially ever since I've been on the Some Ordinary podcast. YouTube has really been paying attention to like what we've been saying, and I'll be honest, if I would make a video on him on the main channel, I do think he'd get taken down for either bullying or the whole weird pedo stuff. Like, one or the other. I do think so.
I do want to make it clear that I have no association with this Rev person, but being capable of uttering those words without dying of cringe is a very intimidating display of strength. If you're wondering,
Yeah, that's just so lame. If you have a legitimate reason that somebody should not be bullying, like, I think at one point YouTube they came out with rules against bullying content, but they never really enforced it to the actual rule, to the T of the rules, because I mean, so much of YouTube could technically be considered bullying. You know, my channel would probably be a bully channel, all right? But if you want people banned from YouTube for bullying, you know, it's got to be egregious, in my opinion. Otherwise, have some other reason, you know, like they're a Nux Taku freak who normalizes disgusting content to their child audience.
why I'm bullying this teenager, Nux is almost 30 years old and at least 2 years older than me.
It is crazy that the man is probably twice as old as you would guess based off of his voice and behavior.
In July 2024, Nux Taku was already getting heat for his lack of honesty about his alleged connections to the online artist Shadman, a once somewhat popular figure who associated with popular Newgrounds artists and drew backgrounds for their online cartoons. Shadman was more infamous for his explicit illustrations, some involving minors, but after having drawn sexually explicit images of actual children, Shadman's circle of enablers who played down his behavior for years could no longer stand by him, and his downward spiral culminated in him being arrested for assault with a deadly weapon in late October of 2021.
It's just crazy. At that time, you had people defending Shadman's disgusting art as, oh, it's free speech. It's free speech to draw children in compromising pictures. Like, that's crazy. Like, even if you truly believe that it's free, why are you advocating for this guy, right? You can have that belief if you really want to, but why are you sticking your neck out to defend the guy who does that sort of stuff?
Like many other YouTubers, Nux Taku had covered the drama around the Mr. Beast star Ava Chris Tyson, who was revealed to be a fan of Shadman's work, publicly admiring and buying Shadman's explicit illustrations of children, displaying one of them on her wall. However, Nux Taku neglected to mention in his initial coverage of Ava Tyson's drama that he himself had a history with Shadman, using his work on one of his video thumbnails in 2020 and asking him for a collaboration in September 2021, years after Shadman's orientation was widely known and documented. On July 27th, the streamer...
It was bad. I think that was Wikitubia. It has, in parentheses, PDF. For your sexuality.
Chud Logic brought up this controversy around Nux to Mutahar during an on-stream conversation. Mutahar had asked to get on a call while Chud was covering the debate between Sneeko and Moist Critical. They spoke about the debate and Chud asked him about Nux.
I'm hearing and seeing a lot of rumors and criticism of Nux Taku for his connection to Shadman that many are saying he's trying to disassociate himself from now because it's controversial. Do you have any perspectives or takes on that?
To the surprise of Chud, Mutahar's answer was very hardcore.
I haven't followed anything on it. I did have a call with him, and he did tell me, like, they interacted before. I think it was, like, the collab shit. I never pressed so hard into that. I don't know the extent of it, but obviously it's a disavowal if he ever obviously wanted to collaborate with him in a meaningful way or, like, defend him or something, you know?
Chud Logic at this point tries to lower the pressure a little bit, but Mutahar isn't done.
Yeah, sure. And, obviously I don't want to like super hardcore hold you to account
Yeah.
for someone else's actions.
And I also just want to say I don't ever would believe that Nux would have no idea about the Shadman child lolly drawing stuff. Like that would make no fucking sense. He's been in this space long enough to know better.
Sure,
So if this was
okay.
like a genuine interaction, like I have no doubt.
Even Mutahar, Nux Taku's co-host and supposed friend, saying there's no way that Nux Taku did not know what a freak weirdo Shadman was. It was pretty common knowledge, and especially within the sphere that Nux Taku inhabits.
Somebody that is in the anime culture to not fucking have any clue that Shadman was doing crazy shit. Like you'd have no. If I knew that Shadman was drawing fucking kids and doing crazy shit, Nux definitely did, and that's never okay.
At this point, sensing the tone of where things are going, Chud asks a simple question.
Are you going to keep him off the podcast?
No, we would cancel the podcast. It's not happening. The podcast is done.
This is hard because obviously, people won't be
Podcast is done. Yeah, podcast is done now.
Wait, what?
As you can see, Chud is totally surprised by what he's hearing.
Yeah, the podcast is over. We are not filming the last episode. It's over.
Is that are you serious?
Yeah, we're not doing the podcast anymore. It's done.
Why?
We're supposed to film on Tuesday. Well, there's a couple reasons for it. A lot of that was obviously some of the Shad stuff too, because we were kind of sitting there, we're like, me and Caleb, we were just like, this is.
And he specifically says part of the reason the podcast is ending is because of Nux Shadman controversy. He says it very plainly here.
I don't know, it's weird. The other thing was we just want to redo things maybe like 2 months down the road or something between each other, and that's kind of where we're at.
Mutahar's language also seems to heavily imply they're cutting ties with Nux. He talks about restructuring the podcast with his other co-host, Caleb, also known as Oompaville. And when Chud asks him if Nux is getting iced out, that is to say, left out of future plans, Mutahar doesn't deny it.
Like Taku getting iced out. Sorry.
I mean, for me, for like Nux or whatever, like I talked to him and he's a good friend behind the scenes for sure, and he would obviously have known about the Shadman lore, so there is no, at least belief for me that he did not know about the child drawing stuff. So the collab stuff is a bad look. Honest to God, I have no idea like how close of a friendship was, but like I said, if he's in that fucking group of like content creation, like the anime side of things, then he would have known Shadman, and that would never have been okay. I feel like if he had any interaction, it should just come clean entirely. It does come across a little weird that he made a whole response, but he admitted that part. It's like, I think if you're in that camp, if you ever interacted with Shadman, just completely own up to it once, take the fucking L and move on, but that's just weird. I mean, there's no reason to really hide it unless like the interaction was more deeper than it was initially let on, is what I would say.
So the Some Ordinary podcast was ending at the
Nux Taku frames the collab it was going to be this thing where I made fun of him and owned him the whole video. And when people pressed him and asked him for other videos where he'd done a similar thing, the videos that he provided were not really condemning the subjects of the video. He was palling around with them the whole time and making jokes and stuff. If he was going to do that style of video with Shadman, people would have thought he was on board with what Shadman did. So the videos that he provided as a precedent for how he was going to do the video with Shadman were not going to be some harsh critique where people left the video thinking, oh my goodness, down with Shadman. Because that's not what the videos he provided as examples were. And you can see that in previous videos about this in the Nikandros video, pretty sure. Maybe a Harmful Opinions one. I can't remember exactly, but...
time anyway. But on the stream, Mutahar pretty clearly said the last episode is cancelled and that it had to do with Nux Taku's Shadman connection. So the podcast that was supposed to end ended an episode early because of Nux Taku's Shadman controversy. This was big news, especially for such a smaller creator like Chud Logic. The stream was getting clipped immediately, and a highlight of the conversation was up on Chud's channel the very next day, with his usual British tabloid news stylization. However, Mutahar changed his mind about what exactly was said on that stream. On July 30th, Nux Taku uploaded a video on his Nuxanor channel where he responds to his controversy. Most important for now, the video addresses Chud Logic's stream highlight and labels it misinformation.
To be clear, this is just false information. I was not fired from my podcast. Nux Taku kicked from the Some Ordinary podcast, not because of Shadman, with the greatest selective hearing of all time.
This claim is backed up by a clip from Mutahar, who now
Just very obnoxious. It's not selective hearing. Muta said that pretty plainly.
surprisingly claims the podcast ending had nothing to do with Nux, and says nothing about the Shad stuff, or the last episode being cancelled, and that Nux will be on the podcast again after it's restructured.
Hey everybody, Muta here, and I just wanted to make it as clear as possible This podcast is not over because of Nux and his situation currently. Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, that's weird. That's just completely contradicting what you said before. Interesting.
a couple days ago at this point, I was on a podcast, or not a podcast, but I was on a live stream with a creator known as...
I mean, it even kind of looks like a barrel of a gun is pointed at him here. Like they didn't crop the video well enough. Nux Taku's hand would be there if you could see a little bit more.
Chud Logic, and I wasn't exactly clear as to the ending of the podcast, which really is an ending. Let me be more clear with you.
He does say that maybe he wasn't exactly clear on the stream, but to the people who won't bother to check if he's telling the truth, this looks like a frustrated YouTuber trying to correct misinformation spread by some clout chaser who twisted his words to score a big story. Mutahar
I mean, calling Chud Logic a clout chaser is just so messed up. I cannot believe anybody would accuse him of that.
has the bigger platform and knows that most people will uncritically believe him. The contradiction between Mutahar's statements on Chud's stream and on Nux's video is noticed by many, including Mutahar's friend, Turkey Tom.
So he said there's like two reasons. One of them is the weird shit about Mutahar, or sorry, about Nux, and one of them is some other reason. How did Chud spread misinfo though? I mean, Mutahar said in this clip it was because of the Shadman thing. So that happened, but now there's this new Mutahar responding here. So for context, podcast ending for a lot of behind the scenes structuring. I'm confused by this in tandem with like this doesn't really make sense, right? The thing is, I do believe this. This has been like the most severe misspeak ever. You know, maybe he was feeling the public heat and pressure at the time. He wanted to say that, but it just feels like this is not.
Yeah, don't you hate it when you misspeak for multiple minutes straight and say the opposite of what you mean that entire time? It's awful.
True.
On July 31st, Chud Logic responded to these allegations on his stream. Nicholas Diorio had given him an anecdote from an anonymous third party, saying,
I don't think he reads it here. But Nicholas Diorio said to Chud, I verified with an independent person the reason why the podcast broke up, and Muta 100% had a regard moment. Absolutely 0% of the pod breaking up could be related to Shadman Nux if the story had been told to me in good faith. I've not even asked Mutahar or any of the hosts about it, all through an unbiased third party with knowledge of the business issue.
saying that Mutahar just had a retard moment on stream and that the podcast was ending because of business and not because of Nux Taku's Shadman connections. This is again leaving out the claim about the last episode being cancelled and addressing all the inaccuracies as a retard moment. Why didn't Mutahar clarify he said the completely wrong thing on Chud's stream? Mutahar's wife Dojangles also tunes into the stream, sending several chats that reveal that the last episode was cancelled because of Nux's Shadman situation, but they worked things out and they're still friends.
Exactly. That's it. It's truly not ending because Nux, the last episode, recorded full cast. The reason it was ending was business. It was over as of last Monday, officially, rides the Shad Nux. Shit. They don't want to burn him. They're still friends.
This is Dojangle saying this, I believe, okay? So, the last episode was the reason it wasn't filmed because of the Shadman stuff, but the podcast was ending anyway. And the way Mutahar explained it made it sound like the podcast was ending because of that stuff, but it was actually the fact the last episode wasn't being filmed because of that stuff and it was going to end anyway. Is that it? Is that the fair assessment of this?
Chud Logic is very
Dojangles
confused by
says,
the whole
"Exactly."
situation, but doesn't seem to mind being called a liar by two massive creators. His chat is calling for him to fight back.
Do it, Chud, turn on Mutahar. I mean, obviously it's annoying that he came on and said something in such a garbled fashion that apparently it's totally different to what he presented to me, but it's not that big a deal. I don't care that much. Bro, that video got like 50,000 views. Yeah, honestly, dude, some people just want you to be a total psycho freak at all times, okay? And I've learned over a long career, you can't just be a psycho freak all the time. You know, have a problem with the stuff that really matters.
In a more recent stream, Chud Logic said that he mostly agrees with this, but he does think he should have gone harder on this issue.
The real fucking backstabbing shit. I mean, this is just, you know, this will be forgotten about in a few days, you know? It would be kind of crazy for me to get super mad at Mutahar when he's gifted me a 50,000 viewership video.
Chud misses the message where Do says that the last episode was filmed, and towards the end of Chud's stream, it's released.
First thing I want to address is obviously Nux. Nux, you've had a internet relationship with a internet bad guy known as Shadman. I just want to stress his podcast was never really ending because of that. It has nothing to do with obviously our relation to Nux. Controversial, but not controversial enough for us to cut our friendships with him, at least in my opinion.
That's very kind.
Good job of really tying up those loose ends, Muta.
Damn.
What the f- you want me to say, bro?
Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. The podcast episode doesn't mention anything about the last episode being cancelled, just the confusion caused by Mutahar's stream clip, which Nux Taku labels out of context, pushing out one last turd on Chud Logic's credibility.
To be honest, most of my stress, okay, I'm just sorry to bring it back. Most of my stress was Muta's clip. I was like, what?
God damn it.
But it was just out of context, and I just fell for the bait. Oh, God.
Mutahar then quickly steers the conversation elsewhere. What Mutahar's doing here is something known as sweeping, to sweep under the rug, running cover for your friends. Doing the last episode anyway is just a way of making the out-of-context statements he made appear even more inaccurate. Suddenly the last episode wasn't cancelled, and the podcast didn't end early because of Nux Taku's Shadman situation. Mutahar
I could definitely see that being the case where the last episode was recorded so that the lie would be more convincing that, oh, it was a misspeak when I was on Chud Logic's stream, right? We actually even did the podcast, so I definitely was just a misspeak there, right, guys?
changing his mind about doing the last episode is one thing, but manipulating his audience to think he never changed his mind in the first place, or ever made those statements about Nux Taku, saying that he was lying about not knowing Shadman's past history, is a completely different thing, especially if you are co-signing accusations of misinformation directed at a smaller creator who did nothing wrong and reported exactly what Mutahar said. But Mutahar regretted those words, and instead of taking accountability, he decided to crush a smaller creator. I became extremely suspicious about all of this, and decided to investigate what kind of person Mutahar would throw a smaller creator under the bus for. I looked into the kind of content that Nux Taku was making, and I couldn't believe what I saw. His thumbnails were plastered with completely inappropriate materials. A Pokemon trainer being raped by a horse Pokemon. An elf woman getting raped.
That's fine, though. Why would that be? And he'll also show in this video that these people, the people aren't just watching these videos and moving on with their lives. Like this, finding these videos on YouTube is getting them into this stuff.
By a normal horse? Tinkerbell wrapping her legs around a cockroach. Another Pokemon trainer being raped. This thumbnail has a naked woman on all fours with a facehugger from Alien latched onto her ass. The actual video itself is Nux Taku reacting to the r/WTF subreddit, where he watches a video of a woman accidentally being picked up into the bucket of a wheel loader, which then fills up the bucket with sand and empties it into a sand processor. This is actually a woman dying of asphyxiation in an industrial accident that occurred in China. Being crushed under several tons of sand tends to do.
That's a great video for a YouTube reaction, though. What do you mean, Nikandros? You really are gonna criticize that? Ugh, it's just a little bit rough. Like, I think anybody, just about anybody, would say they don't want people on YouTube reacting to videos of their relatives or friends dying. And I think everybody would say that if you asked them. Oh, except Nux Taku, maybe.
Do that to you. Let's hear Nux Taku's commentary.
Manager going for a ride. I don't know what I should be expecting here, but I'm sure it will be legendary. Oh no. Oh no! All right, manager, you just stand right over here, miss. Oh my God. And out pops manager lady. Oh, this was something. Oh yeah. And she's gone! What the? Oh, is she climbing out? Well, that was disturbing. Yeah, thank you for that.
This reminds me of this other video, where Nux is also reacting to Reddit, giving his commentary on a video where a negligent forklift operator has left the fork of his forklift up, which is a safety hazard. A woman drives by on a scooter, and her neck collides with the steel prongs of the fork. She then falls backwards to the ground and hits the back of her head on the concrete. The video cuts after the impact, but you would be very lucky to survive that, with serious life-altering injuries. When elevated at eye level, these prongs can be really hard to see, especially if there's something in the background that they blend into, like this line in the wall at the back. They would be practically invisible from the woman's perspective. What is Nux's commentary?
So you're just telling us how we can recreate these videos now. Is that what you want us to do?
Anyway, what could go wrong if I don't pay attention?
The- if YouTube had not cracked down on pranks in the past, they might have to again in different waves of it or whatever. But if they hadn't done that previously in like the Joey Salads era, I would not be surprised if people were setting up hidden cameras and forklifts like this next to like wheelchair or handicap parking spots or something like that. Would not be surprised if that's the route YouTube pranks had gone.
Nux Taku finds this funny because Nux Taku isn't very bright, and he doesn't understand that the world doesn't function with Looney Tunes physics. This is what the thumbnail for this video looked like, by the way. For some reason, Nux deleted both of these videos, but deleting things off the internet isn't so easy. So Nux Taku's content includes displaying media of women being raped and real women dying and laughing about it. Let's see his depiction of children. Several of Nux Taku's other thumbnails feature illustrated child pornography. Here's one of the VTuber, Gargura, where she looks like she's about to sneeze, and is being comforted by a friend off screen. There's a lot of very helpful people in the comment section of this video, such as Mr. Gupta here, who are
Right there. The sauce is blank for all you degens. Nobody is asking for the sauce. What was used in the thumbnail? What was the picture in the thumbnail? I'm curious on the Gura pic in the thumbnail. I have the thumbnail.
sharing instructions on how to find the original image. According to the tags of this image, it is Gaur Gura, BDSM bondage, crying, cum, dental gag, imminent fellatio, imminent rape, lolly oral penis rape ring gag. I guess I was kinda right. There's actually quite a few of this Gura VTuber, who Nux has explicitly referred to as a lewd lolly.
Can we just at least appreciate the fact that out of all of the HoloLive English girls, Gura's like the teeny weeny little lolly in the group, and she is by far the most lewd.
Nux has publicly stated several times that he has a problem with lolly porn.
There's lollies, which I have absolutely nothing against. I don't think anyone has anything against lollies, okay? Like Chibidoki or Megumin from Konosuba or Gura. Nothing has anything against lollies. It's lolly that's the gray zone, all right? Look, it's lewd lolly stuff. That's a line, all right? Lewd lolly stuff, that's the gray zone. Not actual pedophilia, but the gray zone.
So I don't exactly know.
That's way too far along to be placing the the line, in my opinion. I mean, if you're talking about legality or whatever, I don't know exactly about that. But in terms of judging somebody's moral character because the content that they watch, I'm good just distancing myself from anybody who's into any of that. Right? I feel like that's a pretty obvious take for a lot of people. The soy doesn't even need to be said, but I mean, when it comes to Nux Taku and his fans, yes, it does.
How he justifies the inclusion of this material in his YouTube content. A typical Nux Taku video is him pulling another YouTuber into a Discord call and showing them some obscene porn.
To turn our attention here to, I think this is page 9, there is an asshole door. So it's a woman with her ass out, and this one's like an anal key. And Ash Ketchum is well, at least a young Ash Ketchum seems to be approaching it.
Oh, no.
And he uses what's called the fist dash, it seems, to gain entry. So this society is truly lawless.
Alright, Ash Ketchum uses Mega Punch, it's super effective.
And to Nux, showing this material to other creators on the YouTube platform was just fun and games. The more concerning thing is that Nux Taku's other content often features topics that interest kids, like Adventure Time.
Nux Taku likes to especially use porn of Pokemon characters for some reason. Videos are not age restricted.
Digital Circus, Mascot Horror, Gravity Falls, so his audience is a mix of gooners and minors in their early teens. Now, at this point, I inform harmful opinions about Nux's channel and what happened between Mutahar and Chud Logic. He was interested in covering the story and started making his video. I'm sure no one's defending Nux laughing at people dying in industrial accidents, but you might be asking, what's the big deal about having minimally censored porn in the videos? The internet is full of porn. And before you fully lock into this answer, I'd like to inform you that is how Ava Tyson defended her having a porn channel on her Discord that she had minors moderating. The problem with that statement is that it might be true to you, but YouTube is a mixed-age platform, with some viewers being very young children, many of whom are blocked from accessing porn websites on their devices. because their parents love them at least a little bit. Most of Nux's videos aren't age-restricted, at least of his own volition. When he doesn't get dinged by community guidelines, he's trying his best to dodge age restrictions. Instead of using words like hentai or porn in his video titles, he'll substitute them with words like shmentai, Rule 34, and other such euphemisms. If
He wants to make sure that kids are able to see his videos. He puts an effort into fudging with the rules to try and get away with as many kids as possible being able to see his content. Because if it's age restricted, you have to sign into your account and it has to, have a birth date that would make you at least 18 plus. So he's, using lots of numbers instead of letters and this sort of nonsense, misspelling the stuff. In case you're zooming in the titles and wondering why Maxor is showing so much lore and Rule 34 to Nux Taku, that's just Nux Taku's style of clickbait. He pretends the creators whose content he re-uploads are his friends. Oh, I see. He says, Maxor showed me. Maxor showed me. I see.
he's feeling bold, he'll just type out hentai or lewd, but substitute some of the letters with special characters, so that algorithms scanning for the words hentai can't see it. I don't know if this actually works for him, but he's still trying. Whenever Nux Taku's video thumbnails feature cropped or minimally censored porn, Nux Taku's comments are full of people sharing the source to the material and instructions.
Yeah, again, sauce for the thumbnail? Sauce for thumbnail? What's the sauce of the picture? Leave a name of the thumbnail. I must check out. Sauce of thumbnail. Me seeing the thumbnail. I know it's a trap, but I'll take that risk. What mad about is the clickbait? First, you don't go over it. Second, you did not share the sauce. Give me the sauce. Cough. Sauce of the thumbnail. Like, so many people they want access to the art that Nux Taku is showing them.
On how to find it online, funneling viewers to strange porn websites. Nux does participate in this funneling himself sometimes by pinning comments with the source listed, showing the names.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, what?
In this funneling himself sometimes by pinning comments with.
Straight up pinning the comment. So now 1.1 thousand people have liked the comment from this guy, in part because Nux pinned it to the top of the comment section so that people could go and find this stuff that he shows to people.
With the source listed, showing the names of hentai animations in videos, leaving links to them uncensored, and sometimes his editor steps in to share their porn recommendations to the audience.
Hand job. Again, nothing special done with it.
Missed that. It's a secret way so that they can find the video. The 6-digit number is a code that can be Googled to find the porn that's in the video Nux is showing them. The editor is helping out in addition to Nux.
Nothing special done with it.
Investigating these comments that are requesting and providing the source to the pornography, the profiles of these accounts reveal some of them to be very young children, posting videos of themselves playing music with their schoolmates, videos.
And I want to keep these examples to an absolute minimum for privacy reasons, but I also don't want images of random kids on my computer.
Of tiny hands doing very early algebra or playing with plushies. Here's a commenter who was a preteen at the time.
It just showing the people who are commenting these sorts of things. You can go to some of their channels and see that it's obviously just some kid's channel because they're uploading videos from the point of view of a kid.
Asking why someone would want to see a dog having sex with a woman, referencing the thumbnail of the video, which featured an image of a woman being held down so that she could be raped by a dog in public.
I mean, this is basically the level of Nux's condemnation of all of this stuff. He goes, ugh. And then just does countless videos about it, showing it to hundreds of thousands of people.
The minor received a reply from another user telling them that bestiality hentai is softcore compared to stuff that most people are into online, and pointed out how pure they still are. This is likely not a child predator, but another similarly aged person further along the pipeline of having extremely deviant material normalized to them, and you can see them here spreading
Right, yeah, it's basically some older kid bragging about how depraved their interests have become thanks to Nux Taku. It's like, oh, you don't even know. All right, I'm a veteran of this stuff.
that normalization to another person. This exchange is surrounded by several comments explaining how to find the image. All you have to do is highlight the text, then right-click, search Google for this phrase, and you're on the website. This
Straight up. That's all you have to do. That's the entire barrier from getting from a Nux Taku video to the disgusting stuff that he condemns and makes fun of in his videos. Some of the comment sections I've checked still contain live links to porn websites, but also signs that there were more direct links, but those comments have been deleted a long time ago. So there's evidence of links that have been deleted in his comment section, but also some have still survived. Even more direct than this copy paste, which is barely a barrier.
miner was one copy and paste away from seeing the thumbnail image uncensored. After they're funneled into that website, there's no telling what kind of things they'll be exposed to. These kinds of interactions, these kinds of ecosystems should absolutely not be happening on a mixed-age website. However,
I don't think I need to read them again, but you can see all of these are asking, where's the thumbnail from? What's the sauce?
somebody, through their content choices, is facilitating this space, and somebody is making money from it.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't think that Nux Taku is it's his intention to do these sorts of things. I think he just doesn't care. He doesn't have any morals other than I want to make money. He doesn't care about any negative impact that he has. He just doesn't want to get banned. That's the only reason that his stuff is as egregious as it is. It would be way worse if YouTube would allow him, I'm sure. I think I'll call it here on Nikandros' video. I'll link it starting right here. It's about halfway through, so you can finish the video, which I highly recommend. You can see the rest of it, or I don't know about the rest, but a big chunk of the rest of it gets more into how disgusting Nux Taku is and what a freak he really is. And definitely, I think worth watching. He does make some criticisms of his own content down here too as well, which is usually pretty good faith indication if the guys in the comments saying, hey, it wasn't perfect, but yeah, it's still a very good video, and I highly recommend it. And I'll have this at the top of the description, because Nux Taku is truly a sick freak, and I really wish that Mutahar would just definitively say that he wants nothing to do with Nux Taku. Like I mean, I don't even really care about Mutahar. I've seen a couple of his videos and they're fine or whatever, but Umpavel and Mutahar both have millions of subs. There's no reason for them to be amplifying Nux Taku. There's so many other people you could choose as a third mic that aren't absolute weirdos. And especially if he said he wants to do IRL format with the podcast, which he has said, I don't remember if that was in this, but he said he wants to do an IRL format for the podcast. So that's a perfect excuse to say why you got rid of Nux Taku if you really don't want to just disavow him entirely. I mean, fair enough. You had something of a friendship, so you don't want to fully condemn a guy. I would understand that. Still think you should do it. But if you just nix him from the podcast and don't hang out with him anymore, that's the call. That's the call. And I could approve of that. But until then, no, you're co-signing an absolute freak weirdo.